the person in charge here, so to speak.
Yes.
How did you find yourself in that role?
Well, I'm the oldest.
Okay.
I spent 41 years in banking, so I'm a very control freak, kind of control, financial background. So I just had stepped in, and I was retired, so I had the time. And
Okay.
if you want me to keep going, mom and dad were really starting to have problems living on their own, and it was just I was trying to manage it.
Gotcha.
With them in their own home, and it became evident we needed help. And so that's when I reached out to you. We were in the process of finding a facility and just making sure we had all of our legal documents in place so that I could manage their affairs.
Okay. And this is part of this is just me being nosy, because I know that we had talked. How long were you trying to assist them before you reached out to us?
Probably, I was assisting them probably for 2 years,
Okay.
here and there, but probably 6 months prior to that, it became weekly, sometimes daily panicked phone calls, or them falling, and then I was cooking for them. I was trying to do everything I could because I had time. But then within 1 week, they both fell, and it was like I'd hit a wall. I said, I got to get them help because they're going to take themselves out. And I can't stress, the stress was really wearing on me mentally. I was losing my mind.
Oh, goodness. Have you always have looked at yourself as the person that would take charge of whatever it was, whether it was, and I don't know what ways you may have been assisting them prior to them kind of needing assistance with their care. Have you kind of always been the one that's been there for them to kind of help them out through things?
I think I'm fortunate with my sisters. The three of us are very close. We're lockstep together on the decisions. So I think I was being the oldest, but then my youngest sister has other strengths where she's more involved now with the doctors and medicine and things of those nature. But yeah, I think I was kind of leading the charge initially and would loop them in as I needed.
Gotcha.
Somebody had to take the reins, and that was me.
So you're the coordinator. So
yes.
So even before we got engaged, you were starting to assist them, helping them with their meals and kind of coordinating. Yes. Okay.
Financial and all that. Yes.
So I guess, and so if I was asked, what tasks were you trying to complete prior to that? And I know we're kind of going back and repeating some of that.
That's right. The main thing was, and I was fortunate, my father had retired from banking as well. So, and he had his mental, you'll remember meeting him. Mentally, he was sharp, but his body was failing him. Mm-hmm. But he was wise enough to know he was going to need help. So he was in agreement to get me on all their accounts. We talked about more that financial aspect, mm-hmm. and getting power of attorneys in place and all of that. However, I'll jump ahead and say, even though we had the documents in place, it wasn't until you reviewed them and realized they were not the most current and it was missing information. And for that, I'm so grateful to you because you came to the facility, we executed new ones and allowed me to do everything I needed to do with the bank. So it was a good thing.
Yeah, and that's we appreciate the feedback there. That is something that we do look at from time to time. We look at the documents that are in place, and if we feel like there's a need to update them, we're going to make that recommendation. One of the things we want to make sure we never do is make an update to something that doesn't need it. We don't want to fix anything that doesn't need fixing.
Well, and I can tell you, when I went to the bank and showed them the new documents you provided, first they challenged me saying, you're not going to be able to do what I was trying to do some things because he was a retiree from the bank, had pension, had some other things, and they had already convinced themselves I didn't have the right paperwork. And then when I gave it to them and they sent it to their people, they came back and said, you've got everything we need. And he said 90% of the people that come in that think they have it, we turn away. So I remember sitting there going, thank goodness. It just made my life easier. I didn't have to fight the system because we had the right paperwork. And so it was the right thing to do to have you review them.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that was some of the frustrations that you were probably looking at initially.
Yes.
What other frustrations were you experiencing?
Probably the biggest is the emotional piece. If it wasn't my parents and I was helping somebody I didn't love, you just, go in the facts and deal with that. But it's the emotional piece. And I remember so many times, Jonathan, calling you and sitting in a parking lot and just having you kind of talk me off the wall, just because I kept trying to be ahead of the curve, but you can't anticipate the next step. And I ended up in that short amount of time moving my parents to assisted living. 3 months later, he was in the hospital, then in skilled nursing, and I had to move her to a smaller unit. And then he passed, and then she went into skilled. It's just been a constant like moving pieces.
Yeah.
And to be able to stay ahead of that is the hard part. And we were able to do that, thankfully, because we talked all the time and we planned, and you set expectations for me way back when. If this happens, and I'm a big note taker, and I kept going back to him. These are things you said, if and when this happens, we need to do ABC. And we ended up doing A, B, C, D, E, and F, you know, so.
Right. And so when we'll talk about Dad for a moment, when he went to the skilled facility, we were looking for, getting him on Medicaid. So
Yes.
what we were trying to achieve was to help him get things paid for, but also keep money available for Mom. That's pretty much what we're trying to accomplish?
That's exactly true, because when I moved them into the facility, I was able to sell their home, sell their car, sell their golf cart. All they had was, those were their assets and some checking account. They didn't have a lot of wealth. He was 93, she was 95. I mean, I don't think they had planned to live that long. So I was very nervous about the money, because when I did the math, knowing the cost, I realized we're going to run out of money at some point because of the longevity of my family and genes and everything. So yeah, that was the critical one for me. Again, being the banker inside me. Yeah, I'm like,
yep,
you can't run out.
Planner. Okay, and so if you were to look at when we achieved the results, the result for both of them, it was just one at a time. We got the Medicaid for Dad, and then he passed away. We're so sorry to hear of that. And then after that, very shortly, we started working on Mom.
Right away. Yes.
She went there. Now, I don't recall that she either came off the wait list or she went into skilled herself.
She went the week Dad passed. She'd had an episode and was in the hospital.
That's right.
So they put her right into skilled for rehab. So that kind of, as you said, put her to the front of the line
yeah,
for Medicaid.
Essentially bypassed the wait list because she went into that skilled facility. So what areas, I mean, I know that we provided or as a team, you and I achieved those Medicaid results. Would you say, what areas of your life would you say improved? What areas of Mom and Dad's life would you say improved?
Once we got Medicaid?
Yes.
Well, my life completely improved because I was so stressed out over the financial piece of it. And so with Dad, again, there was only 1 month that he was approved and on Medicaid, and then he passed. So it took care of, a significant amount. For Mom, she's still in skilled nursing and Medicaid's still paying. I think it's coming up on a year. August 1 will be a year that Medicaid was approved. And I'm so grateful for that because we've been able to protect some assets thanks to the strategies that you introduced to us and are working. So.
Well, good. So would you say the overall return on the investment, I guess, if, with what the investment in our office, would you say there was a good return or? No doubt.
You get what you pay for. And I felt we paid a reasonable fee for your service. And when I look at it, that was like a month and a half of her just being at the facility. I mean, it was a no-brainer that. And I've said that to so many people because I've got a lot of friends my age with friends or whoever, dealing with parents. And my biggest recommendation is you've got to get elder care help. You've got to have somebody advising you because there's too many laws and there's too many, loopholes maybe, but there's strategies that people aren't even aware of to help them. And so, no doubt the investment in you and your firm, and then the investment, everything we did to make it happen was a win-win for everybody. And Mom's getting the care she needs, and that's our main objective.
Exactly. Yeah, and we always want to make sure that we're making sure Mom or Dad or whomever the loved one is getting the care that they need, and they're in the right place.
Yes.
And if we can protect some money to be available for them for other things, that's our goal.
Right.
So yeah, I think that pretty much does a good job of describing the impact of working with us. And I know where you heard from us, or I know who you heard from us from.
Right. Right.
But I would just ask, how did you hear about us, and what piqued your interest in working with us as opposed to somebody else?
I didn't even look at anybody else because such a good friend of mine, Scott Boyle,
Mm,
who I've known forever, and I knew his mother had told me about what you did for their family. I think they were going down the path of doing something, selling an asset that, come to find out, they didn't have to sell.
mm.
And I remember talking to him one day, just we were at dinner or something. So I immediately reached out to him and asked for your contact information. And that was probably the fall of 2020. And
Right.
it was quickly evident that we needed help sooner than we thought. So my biggest planning prior to that was, what do you do with your parents? I had researched assisted living facilities. I had spent 6 weeks touring and different things. I think that's a big one for people that, are going through this. You gotta do some pre-planning.
Yes.
Whether you need it or not, being behind the 8 ball can just cause you so much more stress. And I felt like with all my planning, I still had stress. So
Yeah.
that's where you all came into play. And I appreciate that. I've told you that many times.
Yes, you have, and we certainly appreciate it. And so you talked to us, and I guess for my own curiosity is, after you and I spoke that first time, and I know, Scott had given you some kind words about us, and we certainly appreciate that. We really appreciate his referral, because it was such a pleasure to work with you. But what would you say, like, after you and I spoke, why would you not shop around?
I just automatically, your demeanor, your calmness, your knowledge. I mean, I did some research on you. Don't get me wrong there. And I have friends. We have a close friend that's an attorney in Orlando that deals with some elder things. And matter of fact, I've even referred her to you because I shared things that you did for us that she didn't totally believe we could do. And come to find out, she learned something. I don't know if she ever contacted you or not, but
I'm not sure. I don't think so, but
yeah, I don't know if she did or didn't, but I'm a people person. I can read judgment. I've dealt with people all my life, and I just felt a connection to you. And that's before I even met you, like on a Zoom call, just on
yeah,
a
I
phone
think it was.
call.
Yeah, it was phone call back. Yeah,
It was, and again, almost 90% of the times I talked to you, I was sitting in my car somewhere, either going to the parents or rushing somewhere to the bank or whatever. And it was always that I felt my blood pressure calming down because I was usually stressed.
I remember one time you had mentioned that you just had to pull off to the side of the road and just have the conversation.
Oh, I did.
One specific time.
I drive different places today and I'll see a parking lot and I'm like, I remember sitting there under that shade tree talking to Jonathan, and you got me and my family to this point, which is I can breathe again. I wasn't breathing there for a while. I think I walked out of the facility with you just totally stressed out when we met with Dad.
Yeah,
to
I
sign
remember
the
that
paperwork.
first time. And you had some concerns as
Yeah.
to, how he was being cared for. I don't think it was as much of the money part of as making sure that he wasn't being given anything that he didn't need, or was being given something that he did need.
Yeah, I felt really good with the facility, and he had the faculties to say he was done.
Mm-hmm.
He was tired of going through this. So it was, again, the emotional piece of it. But yeah, right. It was a little bit of everything at that point. So
okay.
Yeah.
So, and I know you've made recommendations for other people to talk to us. How likely would you be to recommend us?
Oh, on a scale of 1 to 10, definitely 10. And that's why I was willing to talk to you today. I'm happy to share this. Again, I probably mention you and your firm once a month to somebody. Not necessarily people that need it, but they'll ask me how I'm doing. How's my family? And I'm always like, had it not been for Jonathan and his team, I wouldn't be in the place we're at right now because of that. And the fact that Medicaid, approved everything, because the costs are just outrageous. I don't know how people afford the care that's needed if they don't have Medicaid backing it up or proper insurance and all of that. So we just hadn't planned properly for it. So.
Well, there's bad information out there, and then there's the no information. If people aren't talking to people, they don't know what's out there. They don't know what the options are. And
Yes.
I've worked with someone in your position before that just thought that they were the ones that was like, well, mom and dad run out of money, I have to pay for it.
Right. That's what I was already looking at that. I
Yeah.
really was. And the sisters weren't totally happy about it, nor was I, but
Mhm.
what's your alternative? So,
Yep, exactly.
so fortunately we didn't have to go that route. So.
Absolutely. And so if anybody was listening to our conversation, why would they want to take action now?
As I said, you've got to be prepared.
Mhm.
When we first talked, you had thrown out some ideas and things we could have done right away, but I just wasn't ready to pull that trigger. Some trust and different things. I can't remember the terminology, but because we had talked about it and we discussed kind of situations, when it did happen, I knew exactly where to go and we jumped on it. Things you can do and prepare ahead of time is just going to make it so much easier. It's not a fun process to go through, especially when you've got the emotion of your parent or whoever you're caring for. That'll just cause your blood pressure to go up and not sleep at night. And, that's what I'm now doing much better. Sleeping at night and
Good.
Feeling good about things.
Well, so I guess one of the other questions I want to ask is, while you're working with us, is there anything that we can do better? Is there anything that I can do better? Is it, if there's, because we always want as much feedback as possible. There are ways that we can communicate better. Are there ways that we can collect information more efficiently? Are there ways that we can organize ourselves better to assist someone in your position?
It's funny you say that because I think we went through the challenging time. We were right in the middle of COVID when all this was going on. And we didn't meet face to face for quite a while, but we didn't have to.
Yeah.
Like I said, I sat in the car so many times and spoke to you, and your folks were so responsive. I really don't have any recommendation on doing anything better, because as long as you keep doing what you're doing, be responsive, return phone calls, your emails, your team follows up when there's appointments ahead of time. No, I don't have any improvement in that area at all. Your location was convenient when I needed to go there, but 90% of the time you said you don't need to come in. Just,
Right. Yeah. And we, if it comes up, like when we met with dad, and I believe we met with mom out there too.
You met with mom and dad. Yes.
We're happy to go out there. Yeah.
Yeah. That was a huge one for me because I couldn't take them anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And you brought one of your folks with you that was able to notarize it. So you did everything for me. That was a huge benefit. I kept thinking I was going to have to get notary there and people there. And I know the facilities provide notaries at times, but you just made it so easy because you were there just for me and just for my family. I didn't have to share you with anybody else. And again, I highly recommend you and your team, and thanks for everything.